Hi, my name is Heather Feather. I'm the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today I wanted to talk about sexual evolution, sexual growth, something that I think it would support many of us to consider. First of all, let's start just by talking about attraction. I often say, pardon my French, but if the shit hits the fan here at Earth, let's gather up all the attractive people and see what it is they have to offer us in our hour of need. What do you have to offer me? Attractiveness, cool. That helps not at all. Do you have any life skills? Are you, are you able to calm people, soothe them? Do you have a medicinal nature? Do you know how to dig ditches? Can you, you know, what is attractiveness actually doing for humanity? And it's a common, highly praised quality. We do it with celebrities. We do it with selling a normative design for attractiveness. It looks like this over and over again. We're working on it. Marketers are working on it and starting to understand that their consistent dissociation with the way a woman's body should look is actually causing a dissociation from humanity being able to connect to their marketing. But as a general rule, we are often marketed what attractiveness is. We are taught it looks like this and conditioned to think of it in certain ways. I can tell you some of the most toxic people I've met here at Earth School are some of the most attractive. And really, their looks is about all they have to offer. Most everything else they're offering is toxic poison. So, no thanks. Bye forever. Lose my number. No. I'm not saying if you're attractive, I mean, that can be, there's some very kind-hearted, very generous of spirit people that are very attractive that can also get a lot of evil eye. There are a lot of really beautiful women that get stink eye and evil eye just for walking into a room. And whatever other women or people in the building are giving them stink eye, they have no idea what path that woman has walked. You don't know what hells she's faced. Just because she's pretty doesn't mean she hasn't been raped in 5 different alleys in her life, So I want to first talk about, just as a general rule, considering what is attractive and what does attractive mean. I think there are a lot of people that are single today that want partnership or want a lover or want sex in their life. And one of the things they may not see is they've really narrowed their window of possibility, because it's like, only this is attractive to me, I do or don't like facial hair. I do or don't like long or short hair. I do or don't like this type of eyeball, this type of toenail, this type of, people are so freaking specific. You've got to listen to this kind of music. You have to have this style of dress. Oh, you can't wear those type of kicks, blah, blah, blah. So first I want to just speak to attraction. What is it that you're attracted to? Do you have a list? Is there any expanding you're able to do in your list? For me, I learned some time ago that my identification is pansexual. What that means to me is genitalia blind. It doesn't mean that I'm like, where are your genitals? It means that I'm not attached to what your genitalia is doing. I have a lot of Scorpio. I know how to elicit sexual pleasure in myself and others. And, my Gemini rising communication is part of that. We get to talk about what you like, what I like, what you don't like, what I don't like. That's part of sexual evolution, is being able to communicate, being able to be clear, being able to have inner authority in whatever your truth is, whatever that may be. And fundamentally, when it comes to sex, I would say there's one law. I think there's a secondary component of this law that's present in it. But the only law I find value to have present when it comes to sexuality is that there be consent present. Now, I would say part of consent has to do with adulthood. Children haven't seen enough of the world to know what they're consenting to and should not be having sex with you. So if you want to have sex with children, I recommend counseling and considering that adults are the people that have come to Earth School to engage in sex. They've had enough experience to understand more about the energetic merging of that, the connectivity of that, the emotions involved with that. So when I say consent, I definitely do mean in that. Do not have sex with children. I also mean that it should be consenting. And there's all this like Me Too stuff going on. So many people not talking about all the men that are sexually assaulted, but also so many women talking about it that a lot of really good men are feeling kind of pensive. They're starting to kind of like draw back and I'm just speaking specifically in this heteronormative paradigm of this conversation of women stepping forward saying that heteronormative males have assaulted them or aggressed towards them. And that's happening in spades without question, has been forever. But I would just say that I think it's important to note that communication is how we ensure that we're respecting one another. And, you may think, oh, it'd be such a mood killer to have to be like, are you sure it's a yes? Are you sure? Are you sure it's a yes? I'm a believer in no means no. Are you sure it's a yes, ma'am? But, awaken your life skills. Learn how to get back in the mood. don't don't let the threat of a mood killer. Don't worry. You're a two-legged. You have sexual drive. You have libido. You have impetus. You've got primal animal inside of you. Impetus will return, but definitely make sure that you have consent with somebody before you have sex with. And that's how that whole thing gets cleaned up. We don't have to get this like really tense energy. These really good men and women, I think a lot of them with this light that's needed to shine on this topic for a long time, being when we shine it on there, it can cause a lot of fear and a lot of people just feeling like I'm a feminist. I don't want to offend women. I don't know. So I want to say that communication, consent is number one all day long, the gold star of sexuality. Everything else is about communication. I would say anything sexually is perfectly appropriate to put on the table. Anything, so long as you have consent, and that consent came from an adult. Anything anyone wants to put on the table that both parties agree to and consent to, beautiful. Get after it. Enjoy it. Dig in. See how far you can go with it. And to each their own, but also communicating what you don't like, communicating what you do like, communicating where you do like it, where you don't like it. And I would say being open is really helpful. There are a lot of people that, not as much with gay men as often, I would say I've heard this, but just with heteronormative women where it's like, I don't want to do the act of fellatio, or I don't want to engage in anal sex, or I don't want to blah, 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 blah. Well, here's what is the best teacher. The best teacher to know whether or not you enjoy riding a bike is to ride a bike. The best teacher to know whether or not you enjoy swimming is to go swimming. The first couple times you ride a bike or you go swimming, it might be scary. You might be like, I don't know if I like it. But I do recommend, especially when it comes to sexuality, so long as you have consent and communication, to experiment, to explore, to see, to open the doors a little bit, open the windows. I think there just can be, I don't experience it as much in the gay, lesbian, trans, in the LGBTIQ plus community. I don't think we should have taken the I out, so I'm going to keep intersexed in there. But I usually experience greater liberation when it comes, and greater sexual evolution when it comes to those topics, because many of those people really had to fight for their right to be who they are in their lives with their family members, and for that to, they've had to fight so hard just to be who they are that there's a part of you that just goes, I'm just doing what I do, But I think there's a lot of growth edge needed in the heteronormative paradigm of just, first of all, are you sure you're heteronormative? Have you tried the same sex? Have you explored trans versus cis? Have you, have you, I think that we can get ourselves in a box, and I see sexuality as like very comparable and equivalent to creativity or art or like creative expression. And there's so much that can be done and explored and discovered if you're open, if you communicate, if you talk about it, if you investigate. Many people early on don't communicate. So they might be kissed in a way they don't like, or they might, some people, this is a major turn on, but I don't want somebody sticking their tongue in my ear. Now, for some people, that's just the bee's knees. You can nibble on it, but it's like a wet willy to me if you try to stick your tongue in my ear. But even I have had moments where it's like, oh, you like this and I want to sexually please you, so I'm going to go ahead and let you do this. And that's where we start to get into some situations where you might have something trickle into a Me Too conversation or an assault conversation, or because you should never, I don't think that you should do things you don't want to do and you feel strongly about that sexually just because you want to give that to your partner. Communicate about it. Is that your number one thing? Is that what you just love and need to get it going, And if so, are we the right match? Maybe not. Maybe we're better as friends, and maybe there's somebody that loves wet willies in the ear and they're into that and it's like a perfect match for you. Maybe there's another better lover with 7.9 billion people. Maybe we should move along. I don't know. There are a lot of people that are not orgasming, and that is in your hands. Heather, you're hilarious. Well, I would say it is in your hands on multiple levels. Not only is it up to you to make sure you need to have release or get where you want to be when it comes to sexuality and sexual connection with another, but more importantly, it is in your hands to literally be an adept masturbator and not tolerate tomfoolery with the sexual act. I am an extremely loyal monogamous woman. Now, I haven't always been that. I've been an extremely experimental woman most of my life. But at this juncture, I've had some real deep learnings around that. And I've met plenty, I date all different expressions of life down here. But of the men I've dated, I've met plenty that are like, they're real snickle fritzy about monogamy. I don't really, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, cool, then we can be friends or lose my number, whatever. Like, I'm not going to have sex with you. Like, it's not a match. And so part of your sexuality is literally having it in your own hands. I am an adept masturbator. Probably all of you are too. Be good at pleasuring yourself and understand that you don't have to engage sexually with anybody that doesn't match what it is you actually desire. There are 7.9 billion people here. Some of them are going to be celibate. Some of them are going to be going through periods of chosen celibacy, even though that's not their lifelong situation. And so that doesn't necessarily mean they're all available. Many of them are children. Those people aren't available. They're still growing into their adulthood. But of the 7.9 billion, there's still a lot of people that could be a potential match for you. And it's important to know that, like, people, I think, often think like, I guess I'll just deal with this. Well, here's an idea. Why don't we talk about it? So to me, sexual evolution and the great evolution sexuality needs more than anything is greater communication. I do like this. I don't like that. I'm more submissive, or I'm more aggressive, or blah, 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 blah. You know what is a fantasy of mine is dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. It's like lots of people, I think, actually have a partner or a lover that they would be more than willing to engage in their sexual fantasy, but they're not even talking about it. And it's like, let's up level here. Let's take this to the next level. So I want to say that communication is a major facet of sexual evolution. Consent is always a foundation of any sexual. Consent is what makes sexual expression sacred and holy. And also being open. Being open. The most attractive thing someone can be to me is kind and spiritual and deep. You can look like a troll, and I will find you super hot if you're like funny and so it's like, can you be more open? Can you lengthen your list of what you find attractive? Can you extend yourself into new practices? Take a moment to consider your sexuality today. Is it evolved? Hopefully. Blessed be.